I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it.
This is not the church of Joseph Smith.
Travis Wayne Goodsell, another day. Today is the last day of Passover. So at 6 p.m., that's it. It's over. Tonight at midnight, not previous, but tonight as it turns into midnight, there is the sign of the waning moon by Mars, as it's in the goat beast constellation of Capricorn. And I call it the goat beast because that's what the symbol is. Most people call it the cornucopia, but it's the goat beast. And the goat beast is the symbol of Satanism, Luciferianism, the Church of Lucifer. And with the inverted pentagram, the 2 points referring to the horns of the goat, and the bottom point is the goatee. And with it being on the last day of Passover, it refers to Mars as being one of the aspects of Pharaoh. Pharaoh being a theocratic leader, both a government leader and a religious leader. And our generation separates the two leaders. And so when Moses goes before Pharaoh and challenges him for succession, because that's what he was doing. That's what all the display contest was about. Turning the Nile to blood, the staff with the serpents, and Moses' serpent swallowing the other serpent of the priests of Pharaoh. That was showing that Moses had true authority. And so what happened in the Moses story is that during their coronavirus, because that's the creeping death that kills the firstborn, and that's what happens, is that the succession to the throne of Pharaoh, the firstborn of Pharaoh, dies. That's who's supposed to succeed Pharaoh on the throne. And when Moses goes to confront Pharaoh, creeping death occurs, coronavirus, and Pharaoh's firstborn son dies. Meaning, Pharaoh has no successor to the throne, and therefore relents, and Moses becomes the Pharaoh. As the biblical author, many lifetimes later, and has no clue as to what really happened there, and is putting in prophecy for the latter days. And I'll quote from Jeremiah as to why it's from the latter days. Moses then takes the house of Israel, establishes a new religion, a restored religion, restored government, and that's supposed to be the fulfillment in the latter days. As the incident of passing through the Reed Sea refers to the Egyptian afterlife. So Moses was restoring the Egyptian religion and the way back into the afterlife for the people of the house of Israel. Not even scholars understand that, which is sad. But so we're looking for the latter-day version of the fulfillment of prophecy. Now, the enemy of mankind, the bad guys in the scenario, they've done their part in these latter days. Trump is king on America. He dethroned the succession of a presidency who follows the Constitution. We don't have a Constitution anymore. Trump does not follow a Constitution. He said, literally, Article 2 allows me to do whatever I want. No, it doesn't. Which means he rewrote it. Just the other day, he said in his little rallies for coronavirus, I have total authority. Yeah, he's claiming himself as king. He also, in his chopper talk last year, I'm the chosen one. Trump knows he's the bad guy. And he's fulfilled his part. And there is no succession for the presidency, as there won't be an election. We're all just getting played along as Democrats are acting as if they're in denial about what just happened, clueless that we're going to have a rigged election yet again, because Republicans got their king on the throne. Democrats will never win. And to have that false hope during this crisis, it's lame. It's on par with the abuse of Trump to give Americans false hope in Biden. Because we all know Trump's going to bring up Ukraine. He's already said he's going to do it. He's going to resurrect it and push it. Oh, Biden's son was involved in Ukraine. So, we already know. America has collapsed as a government. And coronavirus is evidence of that, as Trump is literally murdering Americans. And he's wanting to murder more by opening up the government to get businesses running again and get people slaving for big business as they all socially congregate and continue the coronavirus. So the coronavirus wasn't lasting as long. Why? Because the house of Israel obeyed and stayed home. And so it stopped immediately. The house of Israel's not staying inside this time. Michigan's reporting having social distancing rebellion parties, as they are also experiencing mass murders in their state from coronavirus. And so, let me read from Jeremiah, starting in verse 5 of Jeremiah chapter 23. Behold, the days come, so in the future, saith the Lord, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch. He's referring to the restoration of the kingdom of David. because if you're not familiar with your Israelite or Israel Canaan history, Babylon conquered Jerusalem. At first, they placed Zedekiah on the king on the throne of Judah, so a puppet king, and then they came back 11 years later and fully conquered Jerusalem, taking Jews prisoner into Babylon, specifically the city of Ur, according to archaeology. And so that's what Jeremiah is referring to here. He knows Jerusalem is doomed. So he's talking about a future event of the restoration of the kingdom and the throne of David being restored. I will raise unto David a righteous branch. Now that seems unusual, doesn't it? Why a branch? Because I've already gone over that. It's referring to the symbolism of Biblos, which archaeologists and scholars all think it's Babylon. But then because it's not Babylon and Ur, that they try to figure out some other location within Mesopotamia. It's Byblos. It's in the land of Ham. It's in the land of Canaan. It refers to the Egyptian story. And a king shall reign and prosper. The restoration of the kingdom of David. And refers to the Egyptian story about the branch. And two instances where the Egyptian story talks about the branch. One is with the death of the king, and the other is the battle to restore the kingdom. And shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. He's supposed to take over the whole earth. All kingdoms must give tribute to this latter day representation of the restoration of the kingdom of David and the religion of David, the kingdom of David. In his days, Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely. It's not Jesus, is it? Jesus did not fulfill this prophecy. Matthew did not put in his narrative of his interpretation of events during the Roman period this prophecy as Jesus dies on the cross and is buried in the tomb. And thus was fulfilled the words of the prophet Jeremiah that in his days Judah shall be saved. Judah was not saved during the Roman period. We all know this. The temple was destroyed. And the Jews were scattered and murdered. Masada, for example. So the Roman Jesus is not the fulfillment. Jesus is not the Messiah. He is not the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, who fulfilled prophecy. It's right here. Judah shall be saved. It did not happen. It still has not happened. This is what we're looking for, is the restoration of the kingdom of David, the restoration of government, the restoration of religion. And in our day, the government and religion are separate. They're not the ancient theocratic government. and this is the name whereby he shall be called, the Lord our righteousness. The King of kings, the Lord of lords, the great high priest, righteousness. Melchizedek, King Melchizedek, high priest. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that they shall no more say, the Lord liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. Who brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt? The Lord? The physical presence of the Lord. God. No. Moses. That's the Lord. Moses brought up the children of Israel out of Egypt. That's the Lord. Moses is the Lord, the King of kings, the great high priest, the Lord our righteousness. That's Moses. A man. A man fulfilled it, and we know this because it's written. Moses confronts Pharaoh, coronavirus, because Pharaoh refuses to give up the throne, destroys his firstborn son, murders him, just kills him. Coronavirus takes him out. And so Pharaoh has no successor to the throne. Moses restores the kingdom of David. That's the story. That's what Jeremiah is referring to here. And he goes on, but the Lord liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country and from all countries whither I have driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. He's talking about the latter day Moses, the one who will restore the kingdom of David, the government and the religion restored from the corruption of government and religion. And if you're wondering how religion plays a part in this, just a couple verses later, verse 11, for both prophet and priest are profane. Yea, in my house, the temple, have I found their wickedness. In the latter days, there will be false prophets, false religion, corrupt religion that needs to be restored. They shall be driven on and fall therein, for I will bring evil upon them, even the year of their visitation, saith the Lord. The year? It's been more than a year. So this is the prophecy. This is what we're hoping for. The bad guys have done their part. The government of America, where sun shall be darkened, has occurred. And it's still going to happen as a final capstone, shall we say, on 8 April 2024. X marks the spot, America. The ancient prophets knew this. That's why Joel says, in those days, the sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood. That's referring to the collapse of government and religion, and the need for the one who is to restore the kingdom of David, both the religion and the government. Government referring to sun, religion to the moon. And And so, yeah. This is the last day of Passover. I don't know how it's going to be fulfilled. We're in completely new territory. But we do know who the enemy is. We do know that Trump is murdering us, genocidally murdering Americans, purposely neglecting us during this crisis, the coronavirus. And we know there won't be a succession to the throne, because he's now emperor for life. I have all authority. I am the chosen one. Gee, I sure like that President Xi is now emperor of China. I want to be emperor of America. Putin's my buddy. He's now emperor of Russia. The new royal family of Russia again. The Romanovs, restored through Putin. And so, yeah, Trump has established his Trump dynasty on the throne of America. And which religion is in America? The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which, by the way, took their power by murdering their founder. Brigham Young ordered the murder of Joseph Smith. Willard Richards shot him in the back. John Taylor murdered Hiram, Joseph's brother. Same pattern. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints needs to be restored. Just like America needs to be restored. The prophecy is a man like Moses, who will restore the kingdom of David, government, and the religion. That's the prophecy. How it's going to happen, I don't know yet. But I know it's going to happen. The enemy thinks it's not going to happen, and they're making sure that it won't happen. But today is the sign of the last day of Passover. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.